Evening, everyone. Welcome to The Next Revolution. I'm Steve Hilton. This is the home of positive populism, pro-worker, pro-family, pro-community, and especially pro-America. One of the American establishment's favorite authors was Philip Roth, who died in 2018. In September 2005, he released a novel called The Plot Against America, in which FDR loses the 1940 election to a Republican who goes on to sign a peace treaty with the Nazis. It's in a long tradition of characterizing authoritarianism and fascism as something exclusively associated with the right in politics. For example, CBS News last year said fascism is defined as a political movement that embraces far-right nationalism. This trend massively accelerated in the last few years as the media, the intellectual elites, the Democrats, never-Trumpers, everyone in the establishment lost their minds over Trump. You know the script. Trump is an authoritarian. He's bringing fascism to America. He's Hitler, and anyone who supports him is a Nazi. Listen to some of the things they said.
There's been a lot of rhetoric, including from these stories about General Milley, about Trump and Trump's policies being Nazi-like. I don't think that's a stretch at all.
Just like Vladimir Putin or Erdogan or Xi in China, he used the power of government corruptly to go after his perceived political opponents.
But it wasn't Trump promoting the kind of racial segregation that Nazis would cheer. It's the woke left pushing it, everywhere from elementary schools to universities. It wasn't Trump using the power of the state to silence views he didn't like. It was the Democrats and their big tech donors interfering in the election, suppressing stories harmful to their candidate. It's not Trump using the power of the state to go after political opponents. That would be the Biden regime, jailing the people like Marine Lieutenant Colonel Stu Scheller, brave enough to speak out against them. It wasn't Trump who told the FAA to ban news organizations from filming the evidence of policy failure. And then what we saw this week, a true turning point in how we understand the nature of this Biden regime. On Monday, Biden's Attorney General, the man sold to us as a moderate who would stop the alleged politicization of the Justice Department, did something I never thought I'd see in America. It's not the first time Garland has mobilized the justice system in pursuit of political vendettas. He did it over Georgia's voting reforms and the Texas abortion law. Whatever you think of those policies, there's no constitutional or legal case for the federal Justice Department to intervene. It's all about playing politics. But this week, Garland crossed a line. He deployed the full power and authority of the federal justice system and law enforcement behind the claim that this person is a domestic terrorist.
Every month I come here and I hear the same thing: social emotional health. If you truly mean that, you would end the mask requirement tonight.
Or that this person is a domestic terrorist.
When did it become acceptable to be tolerant only when someone expresses a view that we agree with? When did it become appropriate to allow the school board, I don't know who you think you are, but it is not appropriate, it is not allowable to silence, bully, or dismiss our views as parents?
They're saying that this person is a domestic terrorist, that this person is a domestic terrorist, and this person, all of them, domestic terrorists, parents, American parents who love their children and want nothing more than to see them properly educated, not improperly indoctrinated, who want nothing more than for their children to see their friends' faces at school. Domestic terrorists. I know that phrase was first used in a letter from the School Board Association, run by Democrat operatives, by the way, calling on the Biden regime to police parent protests. But Merrick Garland should have rejected the demand out of hand. If there are problems with harassment or violence at school board meetings, that is obviously a matter for local law enforcement. And to be clear, all of us who believe in parents' absolute right, and frankly their responsibility to protest, totally condemn harassment and violence and disgraceful scenes like some we've seen recently. But Merrick Garland didn't reject that offensive school board letter out of hand. He didn't make clear that these are local matters. Instead, he invoked the specter of the FBI. What is that other than an endorsement of the domestic terrorist smear and a threat to parents, intimidating them into silence? I've seen these tactics in communist Hungary, the heavy-handed, coercive power of the state used to keep the citizens in line. My parents escaped all that. And now to see it happening here, in America, it's beyond belief. This is not the behavior of a normal administration. We were told that Trump was the one undermining democratic norms and civility. Biden would restore them.
We must end this uncivil war that pits red against blue, rural versus urban, conservative versus liberal. We can do this if we open our souls instead of hardening our hearts, if we show a little tolerance and humility.
Tolerance? Is there anything more destructive of political norms and the functioning of civil political discourse than to call your opponents domestic terrorists? It's been in the works for a while. Remember when Pelosi called Republicans enemies of the state? But now they've just come right out with it. If you challenge our political views, we'll put the FBI on you because you're a domestic terrorist. Anyone who disagrees with us has to be a domestic terrorist because we are the only true defenders of what is good and right and noble and decent. This is how they think. You know that if you've ever talked to them. It's always been a bit like this with the left. When conservatives disagree with the left, we say they're wrong. When they disagree with us, they say we're bad people. That's been the way ever since I've been involved in politics. But in the last few years, it's just gotten so much worse. I don't know what it is. Trump, social media, the divisive, hate-filled rhetoric on MSNBC and CNN riling them all up. Whatever it is, it's gone from arrogance and self-righteousness to a moral superiority that is truly frightening, genuinely chilling. Because you know who else thinks like this? Actual fascists think like this. Biden loves saying the big question facing the world is the battle between democracy and authoritarianism.
This is a battle between the utility of democracies in the 21st century and autocracies. There's a lot of autocracies that are counting on them being able to move more rapidly and successfully in an ever complicated world than democracies can.
Now, finally, the elites have openly recognized the possibility that authoritarianism is present on the left as well as the right, as a recent piece in the lefty establishment Bible, The Atlantic, laid out. And then, right on cue to actually prove it, liberal pundit Jonathan Chait argued in a piece this week that the only way to save democracy is to destroy it and replace it with a one-party system, because any resistance to the march of the far left is not consistent with democracy. So now, as we see what is happening right here in America, as we see the government censoring speech it doesn't approve of, as we see the government exploiting emergency powers to extend its control over our lives, as we see the glorification and veneration of the state and the casual dismissal of individual citizens and their rights, as we see the normalization of racialized rhetoric and policy, and as we see this week the mobilization of law enforcement against political opponents, we inevitably come to the conclusion that this regime, the Biden regime, is a fascist regime. Fascist in its mindset, fascist in its prejudice, fascist in its state-sponsored authoritarianism, fascist in its daily actions that equate truth and justice with the interests of the ruling party. The Biden regime is a fascist regime, and it's time we said so clearly.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.